Welcome to Mystery Manor Tales. I'm your host, Evelyn Hart. Today we're diving into a brand new Hercule Poirot adventure, crafted in the timeless style of Agatha Christie. Settle in with a cup of tea, my friends. This is a long one, perfect for those cozy evenings. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next mystery. And tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? Is it a rainy London afternoon, or perhaps a quiet countryside nook? I'd love to hear. Chapter 1. The Arrival at Gravesend Yard. Welcome, dear listeners, to Mystery Manor Tales. I'm your host, Evelyn Hart, and tonight we're embarking on a thrilling journey with the inimitable Hercule Poirot. Picture yourself by a crackling fire, a cup of tea in hand, as we unravel the vanishing inspector of Gravesend Yard, a Hercule Poirot murder case. This is a tale of secrets, shadows, and an impossible crime, set in the misty autumn of 1925. If you're new to our channel, do hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a mystery. And please, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? A cozy London flat, perhaps, or a far-flung corner of the world? I'm dying to know. Now, settle in, for this is a long and winding tale, perfect for a relaxing evening. Let's begin. The fog draped the Thames like a velvet curtain, softening the edges of the world and lending an air of secrecy to the autumn of 1925. Hercule Poirot, the diminutive Belgian detective with his impeccably waxed mustache and a mind as sharp as a tailor's shears, sat aboard a train rattling through the Kentish countryside. His destination, Gravesend Yard, a sprawling estate on the river's edge, where the past clung as stubbornly as the mist. Beside him, Captain Arthur Hastings, his loyal friend and chronicler, wrestled with a newspaper that refused to stay folded. "Poirot," Hastings said, peering over the crumpled pages. "I must say, this trip feels rather unnecessary. A stolen necklace? Surely Chief Inspector Japp can handle it without dragging us to the middle of nowhere." Poirot's green eyes gleamed with amusement. "Mon ami, you underestimate the interest." A halt at Gravesend Station, where a chauffeured Rolls-Royce awaited, its polished chrome glinting faintly through the fog. The driver, a stoic man in a peaked cap, navigated the winding lanes with practiced ease, leading them to the estate. Gravesend Yard emerged like a spectre, a grand Georgian mansion of red brick, its tall windows reflecting the gloom. Beyond the manicured gardens stretched the shipyard itself, an overgrown relic of industrial ambition, with rusted cranes looming like skeletal giants and half-built hulls abandoned to the elements. The Thames lapped nearby, its waters hidden by the mist, adding a mournful undertone to the scene. At the manor's entrance, Sir Reginald Gravesend greeted them, a robust man in his 50s, with the weathered face of a sailor and a handshake that could crush coal. "Mr. Poirot, Captain Hastings, welcome to Gravesend Yard. Dreadful business, this theft. My wife's necklace, priceless, you know, been in the family for generations." "Merci, Sir Reginald," Poirot said, bowing slightly. "I am eager to lend my assistance. Chief Inspector Japp, he is not here." "Not yet," Sir Reginald replied, leading them inside. "But Inspector Blackwell from Scotland Yard's already poking about. Bit of a bulldog, that one." The drawing room was a study in faded opulence. Crystal chandeliers sparkled dimly, Persian rugs lay threadbare in patches, and portraits of stern Gravesend ancestors glared from the walls. Lady Amelia Gravesend, a striking woman in her mid-40s with auburn hair pinned elegantly, sat by a tea tray, her composure as fragile as the porcelain cup she held. Her son, Edgar, 28 and handsome in a dissipated way, lounged by the fireplace, his dark eyes restless. Beatrice, the daughter, 25 and radiant despite her anxious expression, twisted a string of pearls between her fingers. Mr. Victor Lang, Sir Reginald's business partner, stood apart, a lean man in his late 40s with the sharp features of a city financier, his gaze calculating. Inspector Horace Blackwell joined them, a stout Scotsman with a bushy mustache and a demeanor that brooked no nonsense. "Poirot," he's sapphires and diamonds, set in platinum. "I checked the safe before bed 2 nights ago. It was there. The next morning, gone." Edgar, lighting a cigarette, scoffed. "Mother, you're always leaving things about. Perhaps you misplaced it." "Misplaced?" Lady Amelia's voice sharpened. "In a locked safe?" Beatrice intervened, her tone soothing. "Edgar, don't be cruel. It's a terrible loss." Yet her hands trembled, betraying some private worry. Mr. Lang, sipping his tea, offered a thin smile. "Perhaps it's an inside job. Servants, you know, always listening at keyholes." The butler, Jenkins, a wiry man with a perpetually sour expression, hovered nearby, his presence unnoticed yet omnipresent. Poirot's gaze lingered on him, then drifted to the others, cataloging every gesture, every glance. Dinner was served in the dining hall, a cavernous room with a long mahogany table and flickering candelabras. The fog pressed against the tall windows, casting ghostly shadows. Conversation turned strained as Sir Reginald recounted a recent business dispute with Lang over a proposed merger with a rival firm. "He wants to sell off the yacht," Sir Reginald said, glaring at his partner. "Turn our heritage into a footnote." Lang's jaw tightened. "It's called survival, Reginald. The world's moved on from wooden ships." Beatrice changed the subject, mentioning a charity ball she was organizing, but her voice faltered when Blackwell asked about her recent trips to London. "Just shopping," she said, too quickly. Edgar, meanwhile, drank heavily, his laughter brittle. "What's a necklace compared to the mess we're in? Debts piling up, creditors knocking. Maybe we should sell the whole damned estate." "Edgar!" Lady Amelia snapped, her cheeks flushing. Poirot observed silently, his mind weaving a tapestry from these threads of discord. After dinner, Blackwell confided in him by the fireplace. "There's more here than a stolen bauble," the inspector muttered. "I've been digging into the family's finances. Sir Reginald's near bankrupt. Lang's been shifting funds, suspicious if you ask me, and young Edgar's in debt to some unsavory types." "And the ladies?" Poirot asked, his tone mild. "Lady Amelia's got her own troubles. This theft, it is but the overture. I sense a greater crime lurking, waiting to reveal itself." Hastings yawned. "You're being dramatic, old chap. It's just a necklace." Poirot's smile was enigmatic. "We shall see, mon ami. We shall see." As the clock struck midnight, the house settled into an uneasy silence, broken only by the distant creak of the shipyard's forgotten machinery. Little did they know, the stage was set for a mystery that would defy logic and challenge even Poirot's formidable intellect. Chapter 2. The Shadow in the Yard. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Mystery Manor Tales. I'm your host, Evelyn Hart, and we're diving deeper into the vanishing inspector of Gravesend Yard, a Hercule Poirot murder case. If you're just joining us, make sure to catch Chapter 1 on our channel, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for more mysteries. Oh, and do tell me in the comments, where are you listening from tonight? Perhaps a quiet village under the stars, or a bustling city flat? I'm all ears. Now, settle in with your favorite blanket, for this chapter brings us to the heart of our mystery, an impossible crime that will leave even Hercule Poirot puzzled. Let's turn the page, slowly and deliberately, and uncover the shadow that falls over Gravesend Yard. The night at Gravesend Yard had been restless, the wind howling through the abandoned shipyard like a chorus of lost souls. Hercule Poirot, tucked into his guest room with its heavy damask curtains, lay awake, his mind turning over the details of the stolen sapphire necklace. The fog outside pressed against the windows, muffling the world, but Poirot's thoughts were sharp, slicing through the haze. "A theft is never simple," he murmured to himself, adjusting his silk pajamas. "It is the prelude to something darker." At dawn, a piercing scream shattered the stillness, echoing from the gardens below. Poirot sat bolt upright, his mustache quivering with alertness. Captain Hastings burst through the door, his face pale, his dressing gown askew. "Poirot, it's Beatrice! She's screaming like the devil himself is after her! Something's happened!" Poirot was already pulling on his... Reginald bellowed. "Beatrice, what's got into you?" "It's Inspector Blackwell," Beatrice gasped, her voice trembling. He's gone." "Gone?" Lady Amelia's hand flew to her throat. "What do you mean, gone?" Poirot raised a hand for silence, his green eyes scanning the group. "Mademoiselle Beatrice, explain precisely what you have seen." Beatrice, struggling to compose herself, recounted her morning walk. "I couldn't sleep, so I went to the gardens just after dawn. I thought I saw someone moving near the shipyard gate, but when I called out, no one answered. Then I noticed the office door, Father's office, where Inspector Blackwell was working last night. It was ajar. I looked inside and he wasn't there." Sir Reginald frowned. "Nonsense. I locked that door myself at midnight. Blackwell was burning the candle, going over papers about the necklace. Said he'd sleep later." Poirot's gaze sharpened. "Locked, you say? And the key?" "Inside with Blackwell," Sir Reginald confirmed. "No one could have got in or out without it." The party hurried to the office, a small oak-paneled room adjacent to the shipyard entrance, its windows overlooking the rusted cranes. The door, heavy and bolted from the inside, was indeed slightly open, as if someone had neglected to secure it. Poirot pushed it wide, his eyes taking in every detail. A desk strewn with papers, a half-smoked pipe still warm to the touch, a chair tipped slightly askew. A single key lay on the blotter, gleaming in the weak morning light. But of Inspector Horace Blackwell, there was no trace. "Mon Dieu," Poirot murmured, his fingers brushing the desk. "The inspector, he has vanished like a phantom. Yet the room, it tells a story." Hastings, peering over his shoulder, frowned. "It's impossible, Poirot. The door was bolted, windows barred. No one could have left without breaking something. Where's he gone?" Poirot's lips twitched. "Patience, Hastings. The impossible is merely the possible in disguise." Sir Reginald ordered a search of the estate. Servants scoured the gardens, the manor's endless corridors, even the dank, dew-damp earth. Lady Amelia screamed, clinging to Beatrice, who turned away sobbing. Edgar staggered back, his face ashen. I just found him like this," he stammered. "I swear." Lang's eyes narrowed. "Convenient, finding him so quickly." "Enough," Sir Reginald snapped. "This is madness." Poirot knelt beside the body, his gloved hands careful not to disturb the scene. The dagger was buried deep, the wound suggesting a single forceful blow. The ground around Blackwell was undisturbed, no footprints, no signs of a struggle, save Edgar's fresh tracks leading to the spot. The fog had lifted slightly, but the air remained heavy, as if the yard itself held its breath. "Curious," Poirot said softly. "The inspector dies here, in the open, yet he vanished from a locked room. How does a man leave a bolted office without a trace, only to meet his end in this forsaken place?" Chief Inspector Japp arrived by noon, summoned urgently from London. His face, usually jovial, was grim as he surveyed the scene. "Blackwell was one of the best," he said, his voice thick. "He was here for the necklace theft, but I wager he stumbled onto something bigger. Someone didn't like it." Poirot nodded, his mind already cataloguing possibilities. "The motives, they begin to emerge, no?" Japp lowered his voice. "Plenty to go around. Sir Reginald was at odds with Blackwell, thought he was digging too deep into the family's finances. Lady Amelia admitted Blackwell asked about an old affair of hers back in the day. Edgar's got no alibi. Says he was walking the grounds at midnight, but no one saw him. Beatrice now. She was frantic when Blackwell found a letter she'd tried to burn. Something about an elopement. And Lang? Word is Blackwell was on to him for shady dealings. Maybe even blackmail. Poirot's eyes gleamed. A web of secrets, each strand leading to the same question. How did he leave that room? The office yielded further clues. A torn scrap of paper tucked under the desk bore the words Lang, debts in Blackwell's scrawl. A single sapphire earring, glinting like of a human mind. A clever one, perhaps, but not infallible. As the household gathered in the drawing room, whispers of fear and suspicion filled the air. Beatrice clutched her pearls, her eyes darting to Edgar, who avoided her gaze. Lady Amelia sat rigid, her lips pressed tight. Sir Reginald poured a brandy, his hand trembling. Lang lit a cigarette, his movements deliberate, as if measuring every word unspoken. Jenkins hovered at the edges, his silence louder than any accusation. Poirot stood before them, his small frame commanding the room. Mesdames et messieurs, we are faced with a crime most extraordinary. Inspector Blackwell has vanished from a locked room, only to be found murdered in the yard. The question is not only who, but how. Rest assured, Hercule Poirot will uncover the truth. As the fog rolled back in, cloaking the shipyard in mystery, the stage was set for a battle of wits. The vanishing inspector was no mere trick. It was a challenge, one Poirot was determined to meet. Chapter 3. Gathering the Threads. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Mystery Manor Tales. I'm your host, Evelyn Hart, and we're plunging deeper into the shadows of the vanishing inspector of Gravesend Yard, a Hercule Poirot murder case. If you've just stumbled upon our tale, do catch up with chapters 1 and 2 on our channel, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more mysteries. Oh, and please, drop a comment below. Where are you joining us from tonight? A windswept coastal town, perhaps, or a cozy armchair by a city window? I'm all ears. Now, settle in, for this chapter sees Hercule Poirot take his first steps into the heart of an impossible crime. Picture the foggy Thames, the eerie shipyard, and a locked room that defies logic. Let's read on, slowly and deliberately, as the threads of this mystery begin to weave together. The morning after Inspector Blackwell's body was discovered in the shipyard of Gravesend Yard, the estate seemed to hold its breath. The fog had retreated slightly, revealing the skeletal outlines of rusted method, and Hercule Poirot will uncover it. The little grey cells, they are already at work. Chief Inspector Japp, who had taken charge of the investigation, joined them, his expression grim. Poirot, I'm glad you're here. Blackwell was no fool. He was onto something, I'd wager. The necklace theft was his excuse, but he was digging into this family's secrets. Someone wanted him silenced. Précisément, Poirot replied, his voice soft but deliberate. The theft of Madame Gravesend's sapphire necklace, it is the spark. The murder, it is the fire. Let us begin by questioning those who dwell in this house of shadows. Poirot requested the household gather in the drawing room, a cavernous space with faded grandeur, heavy drapes, a flickering chandelier, and portraits of stern Gravesend ancestors watching from the walls. Sir Reginald sat stiffly, his weathered hands clenched. Lady Amelia, her auburn hair pinned tightly, sipped tea with forced calm. Edgar, slouched in an armchair, lit a cigarette, his eyes darting nervously. Beatrice, pale but composed, twisted her pearls. Mr. Victor Lang leaned against the mantel, his sharp features unreadable. Jenkins, the butler, stood at the door, his gaunt face a mask of neutrality. Poirot began with Sir Reginald, his tone polite but probing. "Monsieur, you locked the office at midnight, leaving Inspector Blackwell inside. You are certain of this?" "Certain as I'm sitting here," Sir Reginald blustered, his sailor's voice rough. "I turned the key myself, bolted the door. Blackwell was at the desk, puffing his pipe, muttering about ledgers. Said he'd work late. No one could have got in without smashing the door down. And yet," Poirot said, raising a finger, "he is found in the yard, dead. Tell me, what was your quarrel with the inspector?" Sir Reginald's face reddened. "Quarrel? Nonsense. He was poking into my business. Thought someone was skimming funds from the shipyard accounts. Ridiculous accusations." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "Accusations, perhaps, but not without cause, no?" Turning to Lady Amelia, mother's glare.
"Not a soul." Beatrice spoke next, her voice trembling. "Inspector Blackwell, he knew about a letter I'd written to someone private. He found it in the fireplace, half burned. He said he'd keep it quiet, but I was terrified he'd tell father." Lang, who had been silent, finally spoke, his voice smooth as polished steel. "Blackwell was trouble. He was sniffing around my business dealings, mergers, investments. Thought I was hiding something. Well, I wasn't the only one with secrets." Poirot nodded, filing each response away. "Merci. Now, let us examine the scene of the vanishing." Returning to the office, Poirot conducted a meticulous inspection. The desk held Blackwell's notebook, its pages filled with cryptic notes. Lang, irregular transactions. Edgar, debts to bookmakers. Lady A, old affair. A torn scrap of paper, overlooked earlier, was wedged beneath a drawer bearing the words, "Shipyard, midnight." The pipe, still faintly warm, suggested Blackwell had been alive past midnight. The windows, barred and latched, showed no signs of tampering. The bolt was heavy, requiring strength to slide. The key gleaming on the desk was the only one to the door, according to Sir Reginald. Poirot knelt, examining the floor. A faint smudge of mud, barely noticeable, marked the threshold. "Interesting," he murmured. "This mud. It is not from the gardens. It has the grit of the shipyard." Hastings frowned. But how did Blackwell get to the yard? The door was locked. The key inside. "Patience, mon ami," Poirot said, rising. "The how is as important as the who." In the shipyard, Poirot studied the spot where Blackwell's body was found. The dagger, identified by Sir Reginald as part of his naval collection, was missing from its display case for days. The ground around the body was pristine, save for Edgar's footprints, made when he discovered the corpse. The sapphire earring, found near the gate, was confirmed by Lady Amelia as part of her stolen necklace. Yet its presence puzzled Poirot. "Why leave a—"
said, his voice calm but commanding. "The inspector's death is no accident. He was murdered, and the method of his vanishing is the key to the killer's identity. I urge you to speak the truth, for lies will only tighten the noose." As he spoke, Poirot's eyes flicked to each face, noting the flicker of fear in Beatrice's gaze, the defiance in Edgar's, the calculation in Lang's. Lady Amelia's hands trembled, and Sir Reginald's bluster faltered. Jenkins, silent as ever, seemed to fade into the shadows. The investigation had begun, but the mystery deepened. How had Blackwell left a bolted room without a trace, only to meet his end in the yard? What secrets did the sapphire earring hide? And who among this fractured household had the cunning to orchestrate such an impossible crime? Poirot turned to Hastings, his voice low. "The threads, they are many.
but they will form a pattern. We must follow each one, no matter how tangled. As the afternoon waned, the fog rolled back in, cloaking Gravesend Yard in uncertainty. The stage was set for Poirot to unravel the impossible, one clue at a time. Deeper into the maze. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Mystery Manor Tales. I'm your host, Evelyn Hart, and we're weaving our way further into the enigmatic The Vanishing Inspector of Gravesend Yard, a Hercule Poirot murder case. If you're new here, do pop back to chapters 1 through 3 on our channel to catch every twist, and be sure to subscribe and tap that bell for more mysteries. Oh, and please, drop a comment below. Where are you tuning in from tonight? A foggy seaside cottage, perhaps, or a bustling urban loft? I'd love to know. Now, settle in with a warm drink, for this chapter takes us deeper into the labyrinth of clues and deception at Gravesend Yard. Picture the eerie shipyard, the locked room, and Hercule Poirot's relentless pursuit of truth. Let's proceed, slowly and deliberately, as the mystery thickens. The days following Inspector Blackwell's murder cast a pall over Gravesend Yard, the estate's grandeur now tinged with dread. Inspector Japp, coordinating with local constables, joined them in the shipyard, his face etched with frustration. "Poirot, we've turned this place upside down. No new witnesses, no footprints beyond Edgar's, and that blasted earring doesn't tell us much. Blackwell's notebook is our best lead, but it's cryptic. Names, debts, affairs. Someone in this house is lying." "Indeed," Poirot replied, adjusting his gloves. "But lies, they are as revealing as truths. Let us examine the notebook more closely." Back in the oak-paneled office, Poirot pored over Blackwell's notebook, its pages a tapestry of shorthand and scrawled observations. Entries detailed Sir Reginald's financial woes, debts from failed ship contracts threatening to bankrupt the estate. Edgar's gambling losses were noted, including a £5,000 debt to a bookmaker linked to Victor Lang. Beatrice's secret lover, identified only as R.S., was a rival shipbuilder, suggesting a motive tied to family honor. Lady Amelia's past affair, hinted at in veiled terms, appeared to involve a prominent figure from her youth. Most intriguing was a line about Lang. "Irregular transfers, shipyard funds to London account, blackmail?" Poirot tapped the page. "This notebook, it is a map of motives. Each suspect had reason to fear Blackwell's scrutiny." Hastings frowned. "But how does that explain the locked room, or the dagger from Sir Reginald's collection?" "A question for the little grey cells," Poirot said, his voice calm but firm. "Let us seek more clues." Their search of the office yielded a new discovery, a faint scratch on the bolt, barely visible, as if a tool had grazed it. "Not forced entry," Poirot mused, "but perhaps an attempt to manipulate the lock." Nearby, under a rug, they found a single pearl bead, matching those Beatrice wore daily. "Curieux," Poirot said. "Mademoiselle Beatrice claims she was not here, yet her presence lingers." In the shipyard, Poirot examined the rusted machinery where Blackwell's body was found. A faint oil stain, overlooked before, marked a nearby crane. "This oil, it is fresh," Poirot noted, rubbing it. Behind a crumbling wall, he found an old tunnel entrance, sealed with boards but recently disturbed, splinters fresh, nails loosened. "A relic of the yard's working days," Sir Reginald explained, joining them. "Used to move supplies from the docks. Sealed years ago." Poirot peered into the darkness, his torch revealing cobwebs and damp stone. "Sealed, yet tampered with. Another thread to follow." Back in the drawing room, tensions among the household flared. Edgar accused Lang of planting the handkerchief to shift blame. "You've always hated me," Edgar spat, his hands shaking.
Ever since I refused to back your merger." Lang's smile was cold. "You're paranoid, boy. Your debts are your own doing." Beatrice, overhearing, snapped, "Stop it, both of you. Blackwell's dead, and you're bickering like children." Lady Amelia, her composure fraying, admitted to Poirot that Blackwell had questioned her about a gambling debt, a £2,000 loss at a private club, unpaid and known to few. "He thought it connected to the necklace," she whispered. "I told him it was nonsense." Sir Reginald, meanwhile, revealed the dagger's theft. "It went missing from my study a week ago. I thought Jenkins misplaced it during cleaning." Jenkins, when questioned, denied touching it. "I polished the silver, sir, not your naval relics." Poirot's inquiries uncovered more false leads. A maid reported seeing Beatrice in the shipyard at dusk, contradicting her claim of staying indoors. Beatrice, flustered, insisted it was a mistake. "I was in my room, writing letters." A villager claimed to have heard a man's voice, possibly Edgar's, near the yard at midnight, arguing heatedly. Edgar denied it, his temper flaring. A significant clue emerged when Poirot re-examined the sapphire earring found near the gate. Its clasp was bent, as if torn off in a struggle. "Yet there was no struggle near the body," Poirot said to Hastings. "This earring, it is placed to mislead, or perhaps it fell by accident." The shipyard gate, still locked, yielded another puzzle. A faint scratch on the lock, mirroring the office bolt. Room. It is the heart of this enigma. How does a man leave a bolted office to die in the yard? Japp shook his head. "Beats me, Poirot. It's like he was spirited away." "Spirits do not stab, mon ami," Poirot said, his voice steady. "This is the work of a mind, cunning and desperate. We must look closer, at the small things, the overlooked things." As night cloaked Gravesend Yard, the fog returned, wrapping the estate in a shroud of uncertainty. Poirot stood by his window, gazing at the shipyard's ghostly cranes. "The maze deepens, Hastings," he said softly, "but every maze has an exit, and Hercule Poirot will find it." The investigation pressed on, each clue a step deeper into deception, each red herring a challenge to Poirot's logic. The truth was there, hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered. Chapter 5. Suspicions Mount. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Mystery Manor Tales. I'm your host, Evelyn Hart, and we're delving deeper into the tangled web of The Vanishing Inspector of Gravesend Yard, a Hercule Poirot murder case. If you're new to our channel, be sure to catch up on chapters 1 through 4. And don't forget to subscribe and tap that bell for more mysteries. Oh, and please, let me know in the comments. Where are you joining us from tonight? A quiet country lane, perhaps? Or a bustling city nook? I'm all ears. Now, settle in with a cozy blanket, for this chapter brings fresh complications and startling twists to our tale. Picture the fog-laden shipyard, the locked room's enigma, and Hercule Poirot's relentless pursuit of truth. Let's proceed, slowly and deliberately, as suspicions mount at Gravesend Yard. The investigation into Inspector Blackwell's murder had cast a shadow over Gravesend Yard, where the air grew heavy with distrust. The fog, ever present, seemed to tighten its grip on the estate, curling around the rusted cranes like a conspirator hiding secrets. Hercule Poirot, his meticulous mind whirring like a finely tuned clock, stood in the drawing room, observing the household with the precision of a painter studying his canvas. Captain Hastings, pacing nearby, was visibly agitated. His honor, but it's caved in beyond a few feet. The handkerchief's a fake. Lang's alibi holds. What's next? Poirot adjusted his gloves, his voice steady. Next, we probe deeper. The killer grows bold, but boldness breeds mistakes. Let us confront the household with new questions. The drawing room was a cauldron of tension as the suspects gathered. Sir Reginald, his sailor's bluster fading, gripped the arm of his chair. Lady Amelia, her elegance strained, avoided eye contact. Edgar, his face pale from too many late nights, lit another cigarette with trembling hands. Beatrice, clutching her pearls, seemed on the verge of tears. Mr. Victor Lang, ever composed, watched the proceedings with a hawk's intensity. Jenkins, the butler, hovered at the edges, his silence as heavy as the fog outside. Poirot began with Edgar, his tone deceptively mild. "Monsieur Edgar, your midnight walk, it intrigues me. You say you were in the gardens, yet a villager heard a man's voice in the shipyard arguing. Was it yours?" Edgar's cigarette froze mid-air. "I told you I was alone. Whoever heard that is mistaken, or lying. Probably Lang, stirring trouble." Lang's eyes flashed. "Watch your tongue, boy. I was in London, as you well know. Why don't you explain that muddy footprint near the crane? Your boots, wasn't it?" Edgar leapt to his feet, fists clenched. "You're framing me, you snake. That footprint's from when I found the body, nothing more." Beatrice intervened, her voice sharp. "Enough, Edgar. You're making it worse. We're all suspects, but you're acting guilty." Poirot raised a hand, silencing the room. "Mademoiselle Beatrice, your distress is noted. Tell me, this letter Inspector Blackwell found, why was it so important to burn it?" Beatrice's cheeks flushed, her eyes darting to her father. "It was personal. A letter to a friend, nothing to do with this. Blackwell misunderstood. He thought it was scandalous. He proposed to me that night, said he'd keep it quiet if I accepted. I refused." Lady Amelia gasped, her cup clattering. "Proposed? That man dared—" "Enough, Amelia," Sir Reginald growled. Blackwell flat. "I told Sir Reginald, I don't touch his relics. The dagger was there a week ago. After that, I didn't check." A new clue surfaced when Poirot re-examined Blackwell's body, now in the estate's cold storage pending autopsy. Fibres, delicate and green, clung to the dagger's handle, matching the shawl Beatrice wore the night of the murder. "Mademoiselle," Poirot said, confronting her privately, "these fibres, they are yours. Explain." Beatrice's eyes widened. "I lost that shawl days ago. I thought it was in my room, but someone must have taken it." A twist emerged when Japp's men searched Edgar's quarters, finding a hidden ledger detailing payments to a bookmaker, signed by Lang. "This ties Edgar's debts to Lang," Japp said. "Blackwell was onto it. Maybe they both had reason to silence him." Lang, when shown the ledger, laughed coldly. "That's old business. Edgar's debts were settled months ago. Check my accounts, you'll find nothing." Poirot's investigation took a dramatic turn when a storm broke over Gravesend Yard, thunder rumbling as he explored the shipyard. Near the tunnel entrance he found a broken pocket watch. Its hands stopped at 12:15 a.m., around the time of Blackwell's death. The watch bore the initials RS. Beatrice's secret lover? A coincidence, perhaps, Poirot murmured, or a deliberate misdirection. Another complication arose when Sir Reginald admitted to unlocking the office briefly at 11:45 p.m. to retrieve a document. "Blackwell was alive," he insisted. "I locked it again, left the key inside. No one else was there." Poirot's eyes narrowed. Yet the bolt was scratched, suggesting tampering. "Someone entered, monsieur, and you did not see them." The household's alibis began to crumble. The maid retracted her story about Beatrice in the shipyard, admitting she'd been bribed by an unknown party. A stable boy reported hearing a woman's voice, possibly Lady Amelia's, near the yard at midnight, arguing softly. Lady Amelia denied it, her voice shrill. "I was in my room by then. This is persecution." Poirot said quietly, "The twists, they multiply. A shawl, a watch, a bribe, each is a piece of the puzzle. but some are placed to mislead. The locked room remains the key. We must find how it was breached. As the storm raged outside, Poirot stood by the shipyard gate, the broken watch in his hand. The fog swirled, hiding the crane's skeletal forms. "Dikila is clever," he murmured, "but not clever enough. The truth is near, Hastings, hidden in the small things." The investigation teetered on the edge of revelation, but the maze of Gravesend Yard held more secrets yet to be uncovered. Chapter 6. The Storm Breaks. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Mystery Manor Tales. I'm your host, Evelyn Hart, and we are reaching a turning point in the vanishing inspector of Gravesend Yard, a Hercule Poirot murder case. If you're just joining us, pop back to chapters 1 through 5 on our channel to follow every twist of this intricate tale. And be sure to subscribe and ring that bell for more mysteries. Oh, and do tell me in the comments, where are you tuning in from tonight? A misty moorland village, perhaps? Or a cozy city flat? I'm dying to know. Now, settle in with a warm cuppa, for this chapter brings the storm, both literal and figurative, as Hercule Poirot unveils the first threads of truth in this impossible crime. Picture the fog-drenched shipyard, the locked room's enigma, and a gathering where secrets begin to unravel. Let's proceed, slowly and deliberately, as the storm breaks over Gravesend Yard. The fifth day of the investigation at Gravesend Yard dawned under a sky bruised with storm clouds, the air crackling with the promise of thunder. The estate, with its red brick manor and skeletal shipyard, seemed to brace itself against the gathering tempest. Hercule Poirot, his mustache impeccably waxed despite the chaos, stood in the drawing room, his small frame commanding the attention of a household fraying at the edges. Captain Hastings, ever loyal, hovered nearby, his face a mix of anticipation and bewilderment. "Poirot."
"Witchcraft." Poirot smiled faintly. "Witchcraft? No. This is the work of a mind most cunning. But even the cleverest mind leaves traces. Let us gather the household." The drawing room, with its flickering chandelier and heavy drapes, was a stage set for confrontation. Sir Reginald sat rigid, his sailor's hands clenched. Lady Amelia, her elegance strained, twisted a handkerchief. Edgar, his eyes bloodshot, smoked nervously. Beatrice, pale and fragile, clutched her pearls as if they were a lifeline. Mr. Victor Lang leaned against the mantel, his sharp features unreadable. Jenkins, the butler, stood by the door, his gaunt face a mask of neutrality. Thunder rumbled outside, punctuating the tension. Poirot stepped forward, his voice calm but resonant. "Mesdames et messieurs, the murder of Inspector Blackwell is a puzzle most extraordinary. He vanishes from a locked room, only to be found stabbed in the shipyard. The question is not only who, but how. Tonight, I will reveal the first truth. Inspector Blackwell did not leave the office alive." A gasp rippled through the room. Sir Reginald's jaw dropped. "Not alive, but the body was in the yard." "Précisément," Poirot said, raising a finger. "The body was moved after death. The locked room, it is a deception, a stage set to confuse. The killer murdered Blackwell in the office, then transported him to the yard to create the illusion of an impossible crime." Hastings blinked. "But Poirot, the door was bolted, the key inside. How could anyone get in or out?" Poirot's eyes gleamed. "The bolt, it was not engaged when the killer entered. Sir Reginald, you admitted to unlocking the office at 11:45 p.m. to retrieve a document. You left the door unbolted for a moment, no?" Sir Reginald nodded, his face pale. "Yes, but Blackwell was alive. I locked it again, left the key inside." "Exactement," Poirot said, "but in that moment someone slipped inside.
The scratches on the bolt suggest a tool was used to slide it from outside, after the murder, to lock the door with the key already inside. A simple trick, wire or string through the keyhole.
R.S., your secret beau sneaking about. Enough! Lady Amelia snapped, her eyes flashing. Leave your sister alone! Poirot's gaze shifted to Lang. Monsieur Lang, your handkerchief, found blooded, was a clumsy attempt to implicate you. Yet your alibi holds. Why would someone frame you? Lang's smile was thin. Someone desperate, perhaps. Edgar's got motive enough, those debts I covered. Edgar lunged forward, but Japp restrained him. Sit down, lad. You're not helping yourself. A new revelation came when Poirot examined the broken watch more closely. Its crystal was cracked, but the mechanism was intact, suggesting it was deliberately stopped. This watch, Poirot said, holding it up, is not broken by accident. It was set to 12:15 to mislead us about the time of death. Blackwell was killed earlier, perhaps shortly after Sir Reginald left. A twist emerged. The oil stain near the crane matched a sample from a hidden shed in the shipyard where Poirot found a recently used pulley system. The body was moved, Poirot declared, not by foot, but by machine. The pulley. It explains the lack of footprints. The killer used the shipyard's own tools to transport Blackwell. Thunder crashed and Beatrice fainted, collapsing into her mother's arms. Lady Amelia's face was ashen. This is madness! Who would do such a thing? Poirot's voice softened. Someone who knew the yard's secrets. The tunnel, though collapsed, was a distraction. Its disturbance meant to draw our eyes. The true path was the pulley, hidden in plain sight. Japp scratched his head. But who, Poirot? Everyone's got a motive, but no one's got the means nailed down. Poirot paced, his mind racing. The motives, they are clear. Sir Reginald feared Blackwell's probe into his finances. Lady Amelia hid her past and debts. Edgar's gambling tied him to Lang, who himself faced blackmail. Beatrice's secret lover and rejected proposal gave her cause for panic. Even Jenkins, silent and watchful, knows more than he says. A sudden clap of thunder shook the windows, and Jenkins stepped forward.
The storm raged outside. Poirot stood by the fireplace, his silhouette sharp against the flickering light. To Hastings he murmured, "The revelation. It is but the beginning. The locked room is solved, but the killer's mask remains. We must watch closely, for the next move is theirs." The household dispersed, fear and suspicion trailing them like shadows. The fog thickened, wrapping Gravesend Yard in mystery, as Poirot's little grey cells worked tirelessly toward the final truth. Chapter 7. Justice Served. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Mystery Manor Tales. I'm your host, Evelyn Hart, and we're at the thrilling climax of The Vanishing Inspector of Gravesend Yard, a Hercule Poirot murder case. If you're new here, do catch up on chapters 1 through 6 on our channel, and be sure to subscribe and tap that bell for more mysteries. Oh, and please, drop a comment below. Where are you joining us from tonight? A stormy coastal hamlet, perhaps, or a snug city nook? I'm all ears. Now, settle in with a warm drink, for this chapter brings the storm's end and Hercule Poirot's brilliant resolution. Picture the fog-bound shipyard, the locked room's enigma, and a gathering where truth triumphs. Let's proceed, slowly and deliberately, as justice is served at Gravesend Yard. The storm that had battered Gravesend Yard for days had subsided, leaving a damp chill in the air and a sky streaked with fleeting clouds. The estate, with its red brick manor and ghostly shipyard, stood as if exhausted by its own secrets. Hercule Poirot, his mustache gleaming under the morning light, gathered the household in the drawing room for what he promised would be the final act of this tragic drama. Captain Hastings, standing by his side, could scarcely contain his anticipation. his honest face alight with curiosity. "Poirot," Hastings whispered, glancing at the assembled suspects. "You've been cryptic all morning. Have you really cracked this impossible case? The locked room, the pulley, the murder. Are you ready to name the killer?" Poirot's green eyes sparkled with quiet triumph. "Mon ami, the little grey cells have worked tirelessly. The puzzle is complete and unreadable."
The chandelier flickered, casting shadows that danced like spectres across the walls. Poirot stepped forward, his small frame commanding silence. "Mesdames et messieurs, the murder of Inspector Horace Blackwell is a crime most ingenious, designed to baffle with its impossibility. A man vanishes from a locked room, only to be found stabbed in the shipyard. Clues, fibers, a watch, a handkerchief, an earring, point in all directions. But the truth, it is singular, and it points to one among you." A hush fell, broken only by the distant creak of the shipyard's cranes. Poirot's voice, calm and deliberate, filled the room. "The killer is Monsieur Victor Lang." Lang's composure cracked, his eyes narrowing. "Preposterous! You've no proof, Poirot." "On the contrary," Poirot said, raising a finger. "The proof is in the details, the small things you could not hide. Let us reconstruct the crime." Poirot began with the motive. Inspector Blackwell was investigating the theft of Madame Gravesend's sapphire necklace, but he uncovered a greater crime. "Monsieur Lang, you were embezzling funds from the shipyard." Blackwell's notebook detailed irregular transfers to a London account. Your account. He confronted you, threatened exposure. You could not allow this. Lang scoffed. "Pure speculation. My accounts are clean. Check them." "They have been checked," Poirot replied, nodding to Japp, who held up a telegram from London. "The Yard confirms transfers of £10,000 to an account under an alias you used. Blackwell was close to proving it." Poirot turned to the locked room. The office was not a mystery, but a deception. Sir Reginald unlocked it at 11:45 p.m., leaving it unbolted briefly. You, Monsieur Lang, slipped inside, hiding in the shadows. When Sir Reginald left, you confronted Blackwell. A struggle ensued, and you stabbed him with the dagger, stolen days earlier from Sir Reginald's collection. Lady Amelia gasped. "But the door was bolted. The key inside." "Précisément," Poirot said. "After the murder was meant to implicate Madame Gravesend or Mademoiselle Beatrice. The fibers from Beatrice's shawl. You took it from her room, used it to wrap the dagger, hoping to cast suspicion on her. The bloody handkerchief with your initials was a double bluff, planted to seem like a frame-up, knowing your London alibi would clear you. But the watch stopped at 12:15 with RS. It was your gravest error." Lang's face paled. "The watch means nothing. I've never seen it." "Au contraire," Poirot said, holding up the broken timepiece. "This belongs to Richard Shelton, the rival shipbuilder, Mademoiselle Beatrice's lover. You knew of their correspondence, intercepted their letters. You planted the watch, stopped at a false time to implicate Shelton, whom Blackwell suspected. But the watch was not broken in a struggle. It was deliberately set. Another lie to mislead." Beatrice sobbed. "Richard had nothing to do with this. I lost that watch weeks ago." "Exactement," Poirot said gently. "Monsieur Lang took it, using your secret to muddy the waters." Poirot turned to the other red herrings. The tunnel, disturbed to draw our eyes, was a distraction. Its collapse ensured no one could explore it fully. The maid's bribed testimony, the villagers' vague report of voices. These were your manipulations, Monsieur Lang, to sow confusion. Even Jenkins's late confession about a cloaked figure was orchestrated.
You paid him to speak, to divert suspicion. Jenkins hung his head, silent. Lang's voice rose, desperate. Lies! You've no evidence I was in the office. Poirot produced a final clue, a tiny fragment of cigarette ash found under the office desk. Matching the rare Turkish blend, Lang smoked. You dropped this during the struggle, Poirot said. It places you at the scene. Lang lunged towards the door, but Japp's constables seized him. You can't prove it, he shouted, struggling. This is a conspiracy. Poirot's voice was calm but unyielding. The little grey cells, they do not conspire. They observe. They deduce. Your greed, your desperation. Shipyard, now bathed in weak sunlight. Justice, Hastings, is a delicate balance. The truth has been served, but the scars of this house, they remain. The fog lifted, revealing the crane's stark outlines. Gravesend Yard was quiet, its secrets laid bare, as Poirot prepared to depart, his work complete. Chapter 8. Echoes of Deception. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Mystery Manor Tales. I'm your host, Evelyn Hart, and we're nearing the end of our intricate tale, The Vanishing Inspector of Gravesend Yard, a Hercule Poirot murder case. If you've just joined us, do pop back to chapters 1 through 7 on our channel to unravel every twist. And be sure to subscribe and tap that bell for more mysteries. Oh, and please, share in the comments. Where are you listening from tonight? A quiet countryside retreat, perhaps? Or a lively city corner? I'm all ears. Now, settle in with a cozy blanket, for this chapter delves into the aftermath of Hercule Poirot's revelations, tying up the threads of deception and exploring the shadows left behind. Picture the somber shipyard, the echoes of a solved crime, and a household grappling with truth. Let's proceed, slowly and deliberately, as the echoes of deception linger at Gravesend Yard. The morning after Victor Lang's dramatic unmasking, Gravesend Yard lay under a sky cleared of storm clouds, as if the heavens themselves sighed in relief. The red brick manor, with its tall windows and faded grandeur, stood in quiet contrast to the turmoil of the past week. The shipyard's rusted cranes, no longer cloaked in fog, loomed like silent witnesses to the tragedy. Hercule Poirot, his patent leather shoes gleaming, stood in the drawing room, his keen eyes observing the household as they gathered once more. Captain Hastings, ever at his side, shifted uneasily, sensing the weight of unresolved questions. Poirot, Hastings said softly, glancing at the assembled faces. You've caught Lang, explained the locked room, the pulley, everything. But I can't shake the feeling there's more. The family, they're still shaken. Are there secrets? Hollow. Lady Amelia, her auburn hair loosely pinned, clutched a cup of tea, her composure fragile. Edgar, no longer defiant, stared at the floor, his cigarette unlit. Beatrice, her beauty softened by exhaustion, sat close to her mother, her pearls untouched. Jenkins, the butler, stood by the door, his gaunt face betraying a flicker of guilt. The chandelier cast soft light, but the shadows of the past week lingered. Poirot stepped forward, his small frame commanding attention. Mesdames et messieurs, the murder of Inspector Blackwell was a crime of cunning, orchestrated by Monsieur Victor Lang to protect his embezzlement. But the echoes of his deception touch each of you. Let us clarify the remaining threads. He began with the sapphire necklace, the spark that ignited the tragedy. The necklace was not stolen for greed alone, Poirot said, his voice deliberate. Monsieur Lang took it to create a distraction, knowing Blackwell was investigating the shipyard's finances. He hid it in the shipyard shed, intending to retrieve it later. Japp's men found it this morning, tucked inside a rusted toolbox. Lady Amelia gasped, her hand flying to her throat. "My mother's necklace, safe!" "Oui, madame," Poirot said gently. "It was never meant to leave the estate. Lang used its theft to draw Blackwell's focus, but it was a fatal miscalculation." Poirot turned to the red herrings, unraveling their purpose. The sapphire earring, torn and placed near the gate, was meant to implicate you, madame, or Mademoiselle Beatrice. Lang knew your attachment to the heirloom, hoping to cast suspicion. The fibers from Beatrice's shawl, wrapped around the dagger, were taken from her room days before. A cruel attempt to frame her. Beatrice's eyes widened. "I knew it wasn't me, but why my shawl?" "Because," Poirot said, "Lang intercepted your letters to Richard Shelton, your lover. He knew Blackwell had discovered your secret, and he used it to muddy the waters." The watch stopped at 12:15.
Years. Poirot raised a hand. Monsieur Jenkins acted under duress. His silence, though misguided, did not kill Blackwell. The true crime lies with Lang. The household's secrets surfaced one by one. Lady Amelia admitted her gambling debt, a source of shame Blackwell had uncovered. "He was kind about it," she said, tears brimming. "He promised discretion, but I feared exposure." Beatrice confessed the full story of Richard Shelton, a rival shipbuilder who loved her despite her father's disapproval. "Blackwell found my letters," she said. "He proposed to me, thinking I'd accept to keep him quiet. I refused. I love Richard." Edgar, his defiance gone, admitted his debts to Lang. "He held them over me, said he'd ruin me if I didn't back his merger. Blackwell knew, and Lang hated him for it." Sir Reginald, his voice heavy, spoke of the shipyard's ruin. "Lang was bleeding us dry, and I didn't see it. Blackwell's questions opened my eyes, but too late." Poirot turned to the locked room, clarifying its mechanics. The office was no mystery. Lang entered when Sir Reginald left it unbolted, killed Blackwell, and used a wire to slide the bolt from outside, leaving the key inside. The pulley in the shed, Lang's knowledge of the yard's machinery, allowed him to move the body without footprints. The oil stain, the scratched bolt, the ash from his Turkish cigarettes, these were his mistakes. Hastings, wide-eyed, shook his head. "It's brilliant, Poirot, but so cold. To plan all this, to frame the family—" "Greed, mon ami, is a cold master," Poirot said. "Lang's embezzlement was his lifeblood. Blackwell's investigation threatened to cut it off." Japp added, "We've got Lang's accounts, the necklace, and his confession to the theft. The murder charge will stick once we present the ash and pulley evidence." Poirot addressed the moral weight of the crime. "This house has suffered, not only from murder, but from the distrust it sowed. Each of you carried secrets, and Lang used them as weapons. Yet you are not without fault. Silence, fear, pride, they paved the way for tragedy." Lady Amelia wiped her eyes. "If I'd spoken sooner about my debts," Beatrice
Gravesend Yard, to face its future. Poirot, his work done, prepared to depart, his mind already turning to the next challenge. Chapter 9. The Final Confrontation. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Mystery Manor Tales. I'm your host, Evelyn Hart, and we're racing toward the climax of The Vanishing Inspector of Gravesend Yard, a Hercule Poirot murder case. If you're new to our channel, do catch up on chapters 1 through 8 to savor every twist. And don't forget to subscribe and tap that bell for more mysteries. Oh, and please, share in the comments, where are you tuning in from tonight? A windswept rural hideaway, perhaps? Or a cozy urban corner? I'm all ears. Now, settle in with a warm cup of tea, for this chapter brings the storm's final clash, a dramatic confrontation where Hercule Poirot faces the culprit head-on. Picture the somber shipyard, the weight of truth, and a desperate bid for freedom. Let's proceed, slowly and deliberately, as the final confrontation unfolds at Gravesend Yard. The day after Victor Lang's unmasking, Gravesend Yard stood bathed in a pale, hesitant sunlight, as if the estate itself were reluctant to face the truth. The red brick manor, with its tall windows reflecting the clearing sky, seemed to hold its breath, while the shipyard's rusted cranes stood silent, their secrets laid bare. Hercule Poirot, his moustache impeccably waxed, gathered the household in the grand dining hall, its long mahogany table and flickering candelabras casting a solemn glow. Captain Hastings, ever loyal, stood by his side, his face a mix of awe and apprehension.
"Poirot," Hastings whispered, glancing at the assembled group, "you've named Lang as the killer, explained the locked room, the pulley, everything. But he's still denying the murder. Are you sure this confrontation will break him?" Poirot's green eyes gleamed with quiet certainty. "Mon ami, the guilty heart, it cannot hide forever. Monsieur Lang's lies are like a house of cards. One push, and they collapse. Today, Hercule Poirot will deliver that push." Chief Inspector Japp, flanked by 2 constables, stood near the door, shame for his coerced silence. Poirot stepped forward, his small frame commanding the room. "Mesdames et messieurs, the murder of Inspector Blackwell was a crime of cunning, designed to baffle with its impossible nature. Monsieur Victor Lang, you stand accused not only of embezzlement and theft, but of murder. The time for denial is over. Let us face the truth." Lang's voice was cold, his eyes narrowing. "You've spun a fine tale, Poirot, but it's all conjecture. You've no proof I touched Blackwell." Poirot's smile was serene but unyielding. "On the contrary, monsieur, the proof is in the details, the small things you could not conceal. Let us revisit the crime, step by step, and see if your resolve holds." He began with the motive, his voice deliberate. "Inspector Blackwell was investigating the theft of Madame Gravesend's sapphire necklace, but he uncovered your embezzlement. £10,000 siphoned from the shipyard to a London account under an alias. His notebook detailed your transactions, and he confronted you that night. You could not allow exposure, no?" Lang shrugged, his smirk intact. "Business dealings, nothing more. Blackwell was fishing, had nothing solid." Japp held up the telegram from London. "Not so, Lang. The Yard traced the funds to your alias. Blackwell had you cornered." Poirot continued, addressing the locked room. "You entered the office when Sir Reginald left it unbolted at 11:45 p.m. You stabbed Blackwell with the dagger, stolen from Sir Reginald's collection days earlier. To create the illusion of an impossible vanishing, you used a wire through the keyhole to slide the bolt from outside, leaving the key inside. The scratches on the bolt betray your method." Sir Reginald's face darkened. "You used my own dagger, Lang. My trust." Lang's eyes flicked away, but he said nothing. Poirot turned to the body's movement. "You moved Blackwell to the shipyard using a pulley system in the shed, avoiding footprints. The fresh oil, sir. I saw him, cloaked, near midnight. He paid me to keep quiet, threatened my family." Lang's face twisted with fury. "Liar! You're in on it, Jenkins!" Poirot raised a hand. "The final proof, Monsieur Lang, is the ash of your Turkish cigarettes, found under the office desk. You smoked as you planned the murder, and a careless flake fell. It places you at the scene." Lang's defiance cracked, his voice rising. "This is a setup! You've all conspired against me!" Poirot's tone was relentless. "The watch, set to 12:15 with RS, Richard Shelton's initials, was your attempt to frame Mademoiselle Beatrice's lover. You stole it from her room, knowing Blackwell had intercepted her letters. Every clue you planted, the handkerchief, the earring, the tunnel's disturbance, was a lie to confuse. But the truth, it cannot be hidden." The room was silent, the weight of Poirot's words pressing down. Edgar broke the tension, his voice hoarse. "You used us, Lang. My debts, Bea's letters, all to cover your tracks." Beatrice sobbed. "You made me think Richard was in danger." Lady Amelia clutched her daughter, her eyes blazing. "You're a monster." Sir Reginald stood, his voice shaking. "My partner, my friend, how could you?" Lang's composure shattered. He leapt to his feet, shoving a constable aside, and bolted for the French doors leading to the gardens. "You'll not take me!" he shouted, wrenching the doors open. Japp's men sprang into action, but Lang was swift, darting into the fog that lingered in the gardens. Poirot, calm as ever, turned to Hastings. "He runs, but he cannot escape the truth." The chase was brief but chaotic. Constables fanned out, their shouts echoing as they pursued Lang through the misty gardens toward the shipyard. Japp, panting, led the charge, cornering Lang near a rusted crane. Lang, desperate, scrambled up the structure. "Address them all," his voice gentle but firm. "The truth has been served, but its cost is heavy. This house must heal, through honesty, through forgiveness. Let the shadows of deception fade." As the constables escorted Lang to a waiting police van, Poirot stood by the dining hall windows, gazing at the shipyard's stark cranes. "Hastings," he said, "justice is a light in the darkness, but it does not erase the scars. This family, they must find their own peace now." Japp clapped Poirot's shoulder. "You're a marvel, Poirot. Scotland Yard'll sing your praises for this one." The echoes of the confrontation lingered, but Gravesend Yard began to breathe again, its secrets laid bare under the clearing sky. Chapter 10. Peace Restored. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Mystery Manor Tales. I'm your host, Evelyn Hart, and we've reached the final chapter of our enthralling tale, The Vanishing Inspector of Gravesend Yard, a Hercule Poirot murder case. If you're new to our channel, do catch up on chapters 1 through 9 to savor every twist of this intricate whodunit. And be sure to subscribe and tap that bell for more mysteries. Oh, and please, share in the comments, where are you joining us from today? A tranquil countryside haven, perhaps, or a vibrant city nook? I'm all ears. Now, settle in with a cozy blanket and a warm drink, for this chapter brings closure to the storm-tossed saga of Gravesend Yard. Picture the quiet shipyard, the healing of a fractured household, and Hercule Poirot's final reflections. Let's proceed, slowly and deliberately, as peace is restored at Gravesend Yard. The sun rose over Gravesend Yard on a crisp autumn morning, its golden rays piercing the last wisps of fog that had clung to the estate like a lingering ghost. The red brick manor, with its tall windows and faded grandeur, stood as a testament to resilience, while the shipyard's rusted cranes, now bathed in light, seemed less menacing, as if relieved of their burden of secrets. Hercule Poirot,
His patent leather shoes, polished to a mirror shine, stood in the gardens, gazing at the Thames in the distance.
Yards already singing your praises. But this place? He gestured at the manor. It's got a long road to recovery. Oui, Monsieur Japp, Poirot replied, his voice calm but resonant. Justice has been served, but peace, it is a gift the heart must choose to accept. Let us visit the household one last time. The drawing room, once a cauldron of suspicion, now held a quieter air, though the weight of recent events lingered. Sir Reginald stood by the fireplace, his sailor's frame less stooped, his eyes clearer. Lady Amelia, her auburn hair neatly pinned, sat with a newfound calm, her hand resting on Beatrice's. Beatrice, her beauty softened by a tentative hope, smiled faintly, her pearls glinting in the sunlight streaming through the windows. Edgar, no longer slouched, stood tall, his face resolute despite the shadows under his eyes. Jenkins, the butler, moved with less hesitation, his gaunt features softened by a hint of redemption. Poirot addressed them, his small frame commanding the room with gentle authority. Mesdames et messieurs, the tragedy of Inspector Blackwell's murder has been laid bare. Monsieur Victor Lang, driven by greed, wove a web of deception, embezzlement, a stolen necklace, a staged locked room, and a brutal killing. But you, the heart of Gravesend Yard, have faced your own truths. Let us reflect, that you may find peace. Sir Reginald spoke first, his voice steady but heavy. Mr. Poirot, I was blind to Lang's betrayal. My trust in him nearly cost us everything. My family, my legacy. Blackwell's death opened my eyes, but your clarity saved us. Poirot bowed slightly. Monsieur, your trust was exploited, but your strength endures. The shipyard, though wounded, may yet rise again with honest stewardship. Lady Amelia's eyes glistened with unshed tears. I hid my past, my debts, fearing shame. Blackwell was kind, but I was too proud to admit my faults. You've given me a chance to start anew. Madame betrayed this house by my silence. Lang's threats were no excuse. I'll serve faithfully now, if you'll have me. Sir Reginald placed a hand on Jenkins's shoulder. You've owned your mistake, Jenkins. Stay. We'll rebuild together. Poirot turned to the remaining threads of the case, ensuring clarity. The sapphire necklace, recovered from the shipyard shed, was Lang's first deception, meant to distract from his embezzlement. The earring, placed near the gate, was a cruel attempt to implicate Madame or Mademoiselle Beatrice. The fibers from Beatrice's shawl, the watch set to a false time, these were lies to confuse. The bloody handkerchief, a double bluff to clear Lang's name, only deepened his guilt when paired with the Turkish cigarette ash found in the office. Hastings, listening intently, shook his head in wonder. It's astonishing, Poirot. Lang thought he'd crafted the perfect crime, but you saw through every layer. The little grey cells, mon ami, Poirot said, tapping his temple. They see what the heart tries to hide. The locked room was no mystery. A wire through the keyhole slid the bolt, and the pulley moved the body, leaving no footprints. Lang's knowledge of the shipyard's machinery was his tool, but his arrogance was his downfall. Japp nodded, his respect evident. The evidence is ironclad. Ash, accounts, the pulley's oil. Lang'll face the gallows, and the yard's grateful, Poirot. Poirot addressed the household one last time. This estate has weathered a storm of deception, but the truth has cleared the air. You have each faced your secrets, debts, loves, betrayals. Now, Let honesty be your compass. Gravesend Yard is not its cranes or its wealth, but its people. Rebuild it with trust. Lady Amelia squeezed Beatrice's hand, a silent promise. Beatrice smiled, her eyes bright with hope. Edgar extended a hand to his father, who clasped it firmly. Jenkins, standing straighter, nodded solemnly. The room, once heavy with suspicion, felt lighter, as if the shadows had retreated with the fog. As the household dispersed to begin their healing, Poirot
Stood proud, its wounds beginning to heal. The shipyard, once a stage for tragedy, now held the promise of renewal. Au revoir, Poirot murmured, and may you find calm waters. The car rolled away, leaving Gravesend Yard to its new dawn, the echoes of deception silenced at last.